In '71, people were meeting in Pastor Harpel's house. And by September, I was told that Kinsman was being organized, and we came to the first church service, which was September of '71. The first building was the metal building, which is no longer here. And then the sanctuary came next.
Pastor Harpel came up to my house in April of 1975 and asked if I would be on the building committee. The first thing was I was building committee chairman. First of all, we had to decide on an architect. We thought just where the sanctuary is now, we could place a sanctuary here. And on top of that, we wanted to save the trees.
Right at the edge of the sanctuary was a persimmon. And of course, people want to save trees, so it was not cut down, but the sanctuary was turned because of that tree.
And we wanted to see the trees. And then also we wanted the seating arrangement so we could see each other. Our first son, Peter, was baptized in a high school cafeteria. That had some of the motivation why I'd like to see in a real church. We had to figure out how to finance. Right in our backyard was Security Church Finance. They're retired Baptist preachers. And they came in and said, "You guys can do it." Then we hired Security Church Finance to sell bonds. When we sold the church bonds, we had to develop a prospectus, and that's a legal document. You had to be very careful. You had to be, well, the first one, we said we had 125 families. I guess I can say it now. We maybe went on faith. On the first issue, it was $300,000. There was a few people that couldn't pay for the bonds, and we couldn't sell them all. And we were coming up with the second issue, and that was for $200,000, but we hadn't sold everything on the first issue.
I was secretary of the church council, and I remember writing my name 500 times on the bonds.
Believe me, the Lord works in mysterious ways. 3 guys took over those unsold bonds. One was Cullen Thompson, Stanley Schmidt, and the third guy to know. They took those bonds, and I think it was around 50,000. They sold them. I think they twisted every uncle and aunt and every friend in the world for those bonds. You know. Second issue of church bonds, that was 200,000, and we sold 110,000 the first night. And I thought, oh, this is a breeze. Well, the next 90 it was crawl. And we started the building. But Dick Dito was congregational president, and he says, on these long-term bonds that we can't sell, let's go out to these elderly people, you know, and uncles and aunts and stuff like that, and we'll tell them that we'll take the bonds for 1 year, and if you want your money back, he was going to go to the bank and buy back those bonds. It worked. Talk about a step of faith. You know, I went like this, you know, but it worked. On April 10th of 1977, almost 2 years to the nose, we worshiped in this sanctuary. It was June 5th, 1977, we dedicated the sanctuary. On July 2nd, 1977, my oldest son, Lieutenant Peter Madsen, was married to Linda Horner, beautiful Linda Horner, daughter of Joan and Bill Horner. We get into the sanctuary, and we hadn't been in the sanctuary very long, and the roof leaked like a sieve. We couldn't go back to the general contractor. He had gone bankrupt. And fortunately, I think it was somebody on the building committee, when we were forming, we had to have a performance bond. And it was with Traveler Insurance. So we had $90,000 sitting in the bank ready to pay off the general contractor, but we didn't hear from him. We couldn't even contact him. So anyway, I started calling Travelers Insurance, and I said, we got a building that leaks like a sieve. They didn't want to do anything. Fortunately, where I was working, I was not too far, and I go over there and I just badgered them. And finally, they gave in. And one Saturday morning, we met right out there. Somebody went up on the roof for the garden hose. It was me. And And we poured water on, and it right where I was used to sit over there, it just came down like it just poured down. Then we went back to, next week we went back to I think it was Baker and Bott's office, and the subcontractors were the roofer and architect and all those people, plus church council members, and we were all in a conference room table. And this lawyer was sitting at the head of the table, and we went around and heard all the problems, and all of a sudden he lifted up his papers and slammed it down and screamed. I mean, he screamed. I went like this. And he said, all these people want is a roof that doesn't leak. Now get it fixed. That's just what he was. Just get it fixed and divide up the cost and get it in. It happened. We got it fixed. On Christmas Eve that year, I came into the narthex. I couldn't believe it. The narthex was full. Every seat when I was wondering if I was going to sit down. And I got a lump in my throat and tears in my eyes. All I could say, praise the Lord. I mean, just all thanks be, all thanks for that. It was just unbelievable. It was just like the mission was accomplished or something like that. I probably read in the Bible about 100 times, do not worry, do not be anxious. Well, all through this process, I have to admit there were a few moments that weren't easy.
I'm a member of the Endowment Committee, which was just recently formed. What an endowment does is it provides a vehicle where you can make plans for any gifts that you can make that generally are going to go either toward, let's say, capital projects. An example would be the renovation of the CLC, or it could go, for instance, to a scholarship fund that you want to either start or give to. Kinsman Endowment Fund is basically held and managed by the ELC Endowment Fund Pooled Trust. So, if you will, there are employees of the ELCA that are there to work with you, work with your accountant or your financial advisor or attorney to help you determine what is most appropriate in towards an endowment type gift that could be specific to your needs and wishes ultimately. So these are basically financial professionals. The way the charter's been written on the endowment is that if someone gave a gift, $10,000 or whatever the gift was, the amount that would ultimately be spent on a given project or scholarship would really only be the investment income from the fund. The principal is staying in the fund. Obviously, it's important for us to take care of the daily and weekly needs of the church with our benevolence. But this is a real opportunity for us to be thinking about, again, our legacy and putting our footprint on that future for Kinsman and for our community.